It's something we can always rely on without fail when it comes to Nintendo's handheld family. Updated hardware revisions. It happened with the Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS, and in our current day and age, the Nintendo 3DS. From its inception several years back in 2011, the Big N's plopped out a few new family members for the slow starting but ultimately successful 3DS. We've seen the Nintendo 3DS XL sporting giant screens and a bigger form factor suitable for those with bigger hands, the Nintendo 2DS with its flat non-clamshell design and a lack of stereoscopic 3D capabilities, which is perfect for the younger audience, and now we have the new Nintendo 3DS and new Nintendo 3DS XL. North America got the short end of the stick though, because even though other regions like Europe and Japan get to pick between a new 3DS and a new 3DS XL, North America is stuck with only the new 3DS XL. Right off the bat, you will notice that the XL has a lack of faceplates, which seems to be one of the main selling points of the normal new 3DS. They really offer a ton of ways to customize your system, and there is an overabundance of themes to choose from, but unfortunately the new 3DS XL lacks the capability of sporting the flashy and colorful faceplates. Instead, you get the choice between the new red and new black color schemes, which although are pretty bland when compared to the vibrant decals of the new 3DS, it still looks pretty nice. The front and back of the system has a glossy finish, which livens it up and makes it look more fancy, but unfortunately it is a huge fingerprint magnet. If you're someone who has OCD about this and you want to keep your little baby in tip-top shape, then you better keep a little wipe cloth handy, because every time you pull out the system, you're going to get fingerprints on it. It's inevitable. But as a nice trade-off, the inside of the system has a matte finish, which is thankfully less susceptible to fingerprints, so you don't have to worry about staring at a war zone of fingerprints while you're deeply immersed in your game. The new 3DS XL also has a comfortable design too, with its rounded edges so it doesn't dig into the palms of your hands while holding it, and there are no buttons or sliders on the sides of the system, giving it a nice clean and smooth finish. Plus, mostly all the buttons have a nice clicky and responsive feel to them, rather than being overly mushy. The new XL has the same exact screen size and resolution as the original XL, and the dimensions are almost the exact same. It is slightly thinner and a tiny bit longer and wider, but the change is fairly microscopic, so you're not going to be able to tell much of a difference when it's in your hands. It feels great to hold though, and it will work really well for long gaming sessions. But since we are talking about a portable video game system, you're going to want to know how its size factors into its portability. If you have an original 3DS XL, you know what you're getting yourself into, since they have pretty much the same dimensions. If you wear loose-fitting jeans, then you can slide it into your pants pocket, but it's not exactly the most ideal thing to do, as it is really bulky. And if you wear tight pants, then you can probably forget it. The best thing to do is throw it into your purse, man bag, or some sort of designated carrying case for the system. Since its rather large size does hinder its portability, opting into getting a carrying case is a wise decision. Now, some of the buttons have been moved around some when compared to the original 3DS XL. These include the volume slider, the start, select, and power buttons, and the game slot, and some of them are now in better positions. Before, the volume slider was on the side of the bottom half of the system, and there you could accidentally hit the slider with your palm while playing. But now with the new XL, it's out of reach of being disturbed, since it's on the top half across from the 3D depth slider. The start and select buttons are also now more clicky and accessible since they are right below the A, B, X, and Y buttons, and you don't have to deal with those former mushy ones next to the home button. You might be worried about the placement of the game slot though, because it is now on the bottom left. This change may have been due in part to the inclusion of the two new ZR and ZL triggers, which afford less room for the game slot. Now, while playing the system, you might think that you will accidentally eject the cartridge while playing, but I don't really see that happening. It requires enough force that popping the game out with your ring finger or pinky is pretty tough to do, so don't sweat about it too much. One thing that you'll notice about the new 3DS XL when you dive into a game for the first time is that the volume that pours out of the speakers has been increased over its predecessor. If you played with the original 3DS XL, you will know that it didn't crank out that many decibels, making headphones the ideal scenario. But thankfully, Nintendo rectified that problem in this new revision, making gaming without headphones more enjoyable. One thing I'm not super fond of about the new 3DS XL is, oddly enough, the Stylus. On the surface, it might not seem all that different compared to the Stylus that came with the original XL, but when you put them side by side, you will notice that the new XL Stylus has been shrunk down. Thus, you can't hold it as easily in your hand, but it does function well enough nonetheless. Now, probably one of the biggest changes to the new 3DS XL that is getting the most negative attention is the new placement of the SD card, or in this case, a micro SD card. Unlike the original XL, which had an easily accessible slot on the side to slide in the card, the new XL's micro SD card slot has for some reason been placed in a rather inconvenient spot under the hood. Hopefully you have a mini screwdriver, because you'll need to unscrew the back panel and pop it open. You'll also need to be extremely careful when doing this because you may accidentally chip the paint when pulling it off if you use the end of the stylus, or you may even bend the area around the game slot. There is a silver lining though. Switching out micro SD cards isn't something you're going to be doing on a regular basis, so you shouldn't have to hassle with it too much after the first time. But still, I don't see why they couldn't just put it in a non-obtrusive spot such as on the side of the system like before. Now pretty much everything I've covered so far has to do with the cosmetic and design choices that Nintendo cooked up for the new XL, but the Big N didn't just make a system that looks different from its predecessor. It also plays differently, as it packs some spiffy new features such as a faster processor. Opening and closing menus in games is a breeze now, as the enhanced processing speed makes things much more snappy, and that even includes downloading games from the eShop. And you can see this new beefy processor in action when loading up a game like Super Smash Bros. 3DS, which would take forever to start up on an original 3DS, but now it starts up almost instantly. If that wasn't enough, the improved specs also allows the system to handle more advanced games, like the upcoming new 3DS exclusive Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. As of right now, Chronicles 3D is the only new 3DS exclusive that we know of, so it's not exactly a reason to grab your wallet and run to the store right this second to pick one up, but it is something to think about, especially if Nintendo releases several games like this. Some may beg to differ, but I enjoy using the 3D feature that the 3DS provides, as it makes games feel more immersive as it's like you're in the game world. And now, with the new 3DS XL, the 3D effect is better than ever before. It comes equipped with a new super stable stereoscopic 3D effect. When playing on an original 3DS or XL with the 3D effect on, you had to hold the system in one specific sweet spot, otherwise the effect would get all wonky and not work. Fortunately, Nintendo has remedied this annoying problem. Using the front-facing camera of the system, the new 3DS XL now tracks where your face is so you can see the 3D effect from multiple angles. It actually works quite well, except for some of the times when it doesn't transition smoothly when you move the system too quickly. It recognizes your face in a blink though, and fixes the 3D viewing in a jiffy, so it isn't too much of a problem. I also tested it out in both well-lit areas and when it was pitch black, and it still worked. So it's all good to go if you want to hunker down under the covers of your bed and enjoy a late night gaming sesh. Another big addition to the new 3DS XL is that it essentially has a Circle Pad Pro built right into it. It now has an eraser head like C-stick just above the A, B, X, and Y buttons that in effect acts as your second circle pad, and the Z, R, and ZL triggers are now adjacent to the L and R triggers. Honestly, the nub that they call a C-stick looks rather bizarre, but it actually works surprisingly well for such an odd design choice, and it even has a pretty nice grip to it. The C-stick is very stiff though, as it really doesn't move around at all, but it does a sufficient job at registering your directional input without having to exert too much pressure. It works really well as a means of controlling the camera, but I did embark on a test run with Kid Icarus Uprising, and I found that it's not optimal when using it as a means of controlling the movements of Pit in land battles. The stiffness and small form factor of the C-stick just didn't lend itself well to its playstyle. Either way, it's still a delight to have it, and it makes a solid effort in acting as a second circle pad, making it a worthy compromise that will just take some practice to get used to. I was worried about the placement of the ZR and ZL triggers when I first heard about the system because they are placed adjacent to the L and R triggers, and they look like they would be hard to reach. But after giving this beast a go around, I can safely say that they are not too much of a problem. I do have small hands, and I can reach them quite fine without straining my fingers. And as for the final enhancement to the new 3DS XL, Nintendo's lineup of hard to find amiibo are compatible with the system straight out of the box. This is due to the fact that the touchscreen has an NFC reader and writer built right into it, so you can just simply place an amiibo on the screen and voila, you're good to go. It works seamlessly and without any problems at all. Nintendo will be releasing an NFC peripheral for the original 3DS later down the line, so this won't be something exclusive to the new 3DS XL, but it is nifty having it built right into the system instead of being loaded down with another hunk of plastic. Overall, the new Nintendo 3DS XL is a great revision and addition to the 3DS family, and I'm glad that I went ahead and upgraded to Nintendo's latest and greatest. The pros more than make up for whatever's not so yum about the new XL. It's comfortable to hold, and the faster processing, Amiibo support, the addition of a C-stick nub, and the super stable 3D effect are fantastic additions to sweeten the deal. If you have yet to pick up any system yet in the 3DS family, then I highly recommend you look past the entire lineup and check out the new 3DS XL. You won't be disappointed, as it's the cream of the crop. If you are just looking to upgrade from a previous model, well, that's totally up to you and how much you can afford, as it will cost you a good $200. I'd say it's Nintendo's best revision of the Nintendo 3DS yet, and I'm ready for the months and years ahead that I will spend gaming my life away on it. And that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and add your favorites and all that good stuff, and you can stay tuned for more videos in the future. But I will talk to you in the next video, guys. Bye!